Hey there, I'm Lee Rowley, and this is Lee After Dark. Why? Because there's more to being a business leader than just business. Each week, one brave entrepreneur ejects the elevator pitch and tells us about, well, whatever they want to talk about. Today, I have with me Isabel, should we say Isabel Firecracker? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Fantastic. You know it's going to be a good episode. We've got it. Isabel Firecracker. We're already set, right? So so this is a very special guest today. Isabel, how are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you. Now, the rules are simple. For the next 20 minutes, we can discuss anything you want except your business.
Okay.
If you're successful, you'll have 5 minutes afterward to pitch your fool head off, as we say. But for each time you slip up and talk about your business during the first 20 minutes, you lose a minute of pitch time at the end. So, it's kind of a contest sort of thing, right? Any questions?
Nope.
Ready?
Ready.
Awesome. Okay, well, let's just go ahead and start the timer here and go. Who are you and what are we getting into for the next 20 minutes?
Well, my name is Isabel. As you know, I am Colombian. Okay. I am a travel junkie. I love kite surfing. I love dogs. I am addicted to chocolate. And I have been, on this path of self-discovery lately as well. So I guess I'm an introvert in many ways, especially when you start thinking about yourself and what it is that you want with your life and, just going through all these changes and I think mostly introvert people are into that. I don't know. Am I right? Do you think that?
I think so. In my big experience, a lot of people who have considered themselves introvert, do have like that strong need for connection, and it's just got to be a little different. It's for me, I know I can identify with that, and it's just kind of going to be on my terms. And so, where do you remember really first thinking about that thinking of it as a journey, as a self-discovery process?
Ooh,
was there a defining event, or is it just kind of a gradual?
Not really. I just remember when I started, I was like, I need help. When you're in that moment in your life when you're like, nothing is making sense. Like, why aren't my thoughts aligned with what everyone else around me wants me to think or do? And I was like, okay, I need help, and I seeked help. And then when I was in that process, I was like, okay, this is going to take a long time. Because you start, getting into all this dirt and just like digging and digging.
Sure, absolutely.
And then at some point, after a few years, I realized, well, this is something that I'm going to keep on doing the rest of my life, I guess. So,
yeah. And I think a life spent learning is a life well spent, personally.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you were Colombian. Were you born in Colombia then?
I was born and raised in Colombia.
Okay. And where do you live now?
Colombia.
You still live in? Okay. Very good. So so tell me a little bit about the culture you grew up in, because I know we've got mostly an audience in the United States and the UK. So what was life growing up in a Colombian family?
Well, Colombia is a very conservative country, like many other Latin countries. We have our societal rules and roots in Catholicism mainly, because we used to be a Spanish colony many years ago. So we have very traditional values, I would say. It was nice. When I was growing up, there was this. It was nice because I grew up I had a pretty happy childhood, and my parents, nothing was lacking at home, but at the same time, back in the 80s and 90s, in Cali specifically, which is the city that I'm from, we were having the cartel wars, the drug cartel wars.
Right.
Have you watched Narcos on Netflix?
I have.
Okay. So you know what I'm talking about.
I have. I've also watched several documentaries on Pablo Escobar, and it's all the things that actually happened then. That obviously
Yeah.
I was a teenager growing up in the 80s, so I didn't really understand that much about it, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I was a kid. I was born in the 80s, and all through the 80s and the beginning of the 90s, it was just really, I would say up until the end of the 90s, actually. It was just really unsafe. Like you wouldn't know if you were going to be in the mall and then this card was going to explode, or maybe you were going to be in crossfire between, two different cartels, fighting for territory or whatever it is. So it was a little bit scary in terms of in general, just atmosphere. And Colombia was vetted for all tourists to come here. I think they told Americans at the time, don't go to Colombia, you're going to get killed for sure.
Okay.
But at the same time, I had a pretty normal childhood in the sense that I would, play with my friends, hide and seek and tag. And I went to school, and, I got to travel with my parents. And I mean, food here as well. Don't even get me started about the fresh fruit, and everything just tastes so different. So, it was a good life. It still is. I mean, the quality of life in Colombia is very good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I could see the gratitude and joy in your face, even as you're telling me about this backdrop of kind of ever present danger that was just a part of ordinary everyday life.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. So tell me about where your journey's taken you. I mean, what is your life about? What is it that makes you tick?
There are many things that make me tick.
Okay.
But before I get into that, because I know this is something I can't talk about right now.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I will get into one of the latest hobbies that I started doing, because I mean, I haven't been much of sticking to a hobby, taking a hobby and sticking to it, maybe kite surfing, because I really like it. But recently I was when you're a kid and you start drawing and you do pink tree and you draw a blue dog and then the sun's green or purple, and then your mom's like, oh, that's
Sure.
so nice. Nobody ever, questions what you're doing in terms of, artistic expression and whatnot. And then at some point you start drawing inside lines and they're telling you, sun is yellow and the whole thing. And I just remembered how much fun I had as a kid, making art and just being creative, not thinking about what the rules are of colors and shapes. And so I started doing that. I started doing art again. And that actually makes me really, really happy. I can spend hours on end, and I'm not a good painter at all. I don't even have I haven't even taken classes, anything. It's just, a way to express, and it's really cool.
Well, you've gotten something out of it, though, that I think that many people who have spent their lives studying painting would never get, and that's joy out of it. Not that I know people who find immense joy in technical details and being able to recreate a sort of photorealism, or to create a different style in a very specific and talented way. But most of the people who aspire to that don't really get any joy out of it, because there's this expectation that you can never really hit. And so what you've said is just so profound, and it's like, okay, you're finding joy in saying, you know what, this is what's inside me, and it doesn't really matter if it matches society's rules. The prescription for the sun has to be yellow and the trees have to be green and the rose has to be red.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it.
What was that process like, getting back to that? Was it just something you said the heck with it one day, or was it a gradual process of training yourself to do that?
I just, it's the kind of thing that I just kept thinking, but I kept pushing to the back of my mind. So every time I thought about it, I was like, I don't have the time. I don't have and then one day I was like, you know what? Fuck it. And I just went out and bought all these art supplies, and I just started, going at it. And so far, I'm very proud of everything that I've done, not because it's technically perfect, but because it makes me feel happy.
Absolutely. That makes perfect sense. And for people listening, that's something I absolutely advocate doing is it's just being able to have the courage to say two words. And those two words are why not?
Exactly.
Why not? What is it going to kill you if you try a hobby, it doesn't work out perfectly the first time, and but you've enjoyed yourself. One thing that you brought up was just I don't remember the exact word you used, but you talked about essentially losing yourself in what you're doing and losing track of time.
Yeah.
And that is to me what happiness is. You know, it's those times when you forget about all of the things that you're supposed to be doing that you're not doing, and you are just able to be in one place doing something that really fills your soul. And that's so cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know a lot of us spend years and decades telling ourselves that we're not allowed to do that. And they never really ask themselves why. Why can't I?
That is true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So that's awesome.
And you know how people often you hear people say that meditating is really hard,
Mm-hmm.
like sitting there and just closing your eyes and like, you know, putting your mind in like a blank, and it is hard. You have to train for that. But when you're doing something like this, like a hobby that you really enjoy and you're like deep into it, you get in the zone, and it's actually a way of meditating. So
Exactly. Thank
yeah.
you. That's exactly it. Yes. Yes. I see so many people who are like, I need to meditate. Daggone it, I'm going to get serenity now. You know, and it's I've been there for years. You know, trying that. I was I grew up in martial arts, and meditation was a big part of Taekwondo, which is a Korean form of martial art. And so we would do these 4 and 6 and 8 hour meditations as part of, getting the first degree black belt and getting the second degree black belt and so on. And, I never got anything out of that. And I think that the biggest reason I didn't get anything out of it wasn't that it was a just sit and try not to think, but that I was doing it to try to achieve a goal.
Yeah.
Right. To me, if you would, and I don't know how you feel about this, but to me, if you meditate to try to achieve a goal, it's just going to frustrate you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And so where you're coming from is doing something you love, and letting that be the meditation, and not
Yep.
worrying about all the prescriptive things. And we've got to have your back just like this, and I've got to have your legs crossed perfectly like this, and I love it.
Exactly.
You're empowering and freeing people. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, so what's next? You mentioned travel. So I'm sure you've got some experiences and stories to share from that.
Yeah.
Maybe?
So,
Yeah? Okay.
my bucket list has, I want to have, well, this is not going to be like a literal stamp, but I want to go to every single country in the world before I die. And I'm already up to almost 30, more or less, up until just, I mean, not that bad.
Okay.
I still have like 120 to go, but I'll get there.
Hey. Easier
But
than ever these days.
yeah, but I try to go at least to 3 new countries every year, at least.
3 new countries a year. That's great and ambitious. And
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're talking about spending a little bit of time there, as opposed to the cruise hop off where you're there for 3 hours and
Yeah, God,
Yeah.
no, I spend at least a week in every country at least. And I'm actually working now to become a digital nomad because I want to spend more time in these countries.
Nice.
So so the last country I visited, the last 2 countries I visited were new countries, were Poland and Germany. And in Poland, I actually went to Auschwitz. I was with a friend. And we are like history junkies, but specifically, the period of World War II, it just really appeals to us for some reason. And I don't have Jewish background or family that I know of.
Sure.
But I was very attracted, I just wanted to go to this place and see it, firsthand by myself. And it was a really good experience. I mean, it was good. It was interesting. It wasn't as gloomy as I thought it was going to be, but I think I can blame the sun for that. It was a very sunny day, and it was a little bit breezy. So in the outside, it was very calm. People like speak very quietly there, or they don't. Everyone's just, very respectful of the place.
Okay.
But whenever you went into one of the barracks, that's when you saw the horrors. And what scares me a little bit, because I went there and I was like, this is very interesting, from the history point of view and whatnot. But what scares me a little bit is that I feel that maybe the world is going towards that again. You know what I mean? Like, we haven't learned from history. It's like, it just breaks my heart.
It does. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I know that you're not alone in that fear. I've heard that over and over again. And all I can really say about that is that you can't assume it can't happen again.
Yeah, exactly.
We can't assume that we've evolved enough as human beings that we can't repeat atrocities that we didn't bother to learn anything from.
Yeah.
So that's absolutely amazing, and I'm sure that was a very profound experience for you. I've not been to Poland yet, nor have I been to the parking lot under which Adolf Hitler was supposedly buried. But we're going to get it. I have a friend who went to Germany, and she says, like, yes, he's actually, there's a parking garage over where he's buried because nobody wants to commemorate him and, acknowledge that he was there. So, that's pretty interesting too. What are some of your other most memorable, travel experiences?
Well, I also like traveling to practice kite surfing. So last year I was in Morocco, for example, and I was in a kite surfing camp that is only for women.
Kite surfing, okay.
And there were 6 of us, I believe. We were all from different nationalities, most of us. And, it's spending time. I thought I was going to be one of the oldest ones, by the way, because I'm in my mid-30s. But I was not. I was actually one of the youngest ones in the camp. There was a 65-year-old woman there kite surfing.
Yeah, there you go.
That was awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so we were kite surfing next to the desert. We could see camels walk by, and we were kite surfing in the ocean. It was a great experience. It was just amazing.
That is fantastic. I have to ask you, is kite surfing as difficult as it looks?
Not really, no.
Okay.
I mean, you don't have to be particularly strong, to be honest, because kite does all the work for you.
Okay.
I guess you just have to be very, have good balance, I would say.
Balance is more important.
After, I don't know, it took me about 15 to 16 hours to stand up by myself on the board. And then after that, it's just practice. Like anything else, it's just practice and practice. And it's like riding a bike, actually. When you stop kite surfing for a while and then you get back into it, it's like you've never actually stopped. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That it looks difficult, but it's something that I've always been like, yeah, okay, I could give that a try. I think the closest I've ever come up was stand-up paddleboarding, which is without the kite, basically. It's like, here, stand on this surfboard and you get a big bowl. I hit a boat. I did. The guy just kind of looked at me. He's like, you dummy, you ran into my boat. So now I stand there. I got it. Bloop. So I can imagine that kite surfing, there's a learning curve, but getting the hang of it and being able to see those things that most of us never get to see, that's got to be absolutely fantastic.
Oh, the feeling is amazing. That's another way of meditating for me. I feel
travel is meditation, or kite surfing.
Kite surfing. Okay. Because you're by yourself. I mean, you're not talking to anyone else. You cross kite surfers in the water, but you're not really having any conversation with them. You're just thinking about you're going, that you don't want to crash against this other kite surfer, and how you're going to take this wave, are you going to jump or not, where the wind's coming from. So everything you're doing is just being in the moment and just managing your kite.
Exactly where you need to be.
Exactly. And then now.
That is absolutely fantastic. Any other travel places that you would recommend, or activities that you would recommend? Because I know you visited a lot of places and you're going to get them all in.
Well, I really enjoyed Argentina last year. I highly recommend it. The food is amazing, and it's not very expensive because unfortunately Argentina is going through a really tough time, like economically. So that was really nice. I was there last year, and we went to visit the Iguazu Falls, which are in the border between Paraguay, Argentina, and Brazil. That's beautiful.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Beautiful.
So that's amazing. Something that I've only seen in pictures, and I can't wait to see it for myself one of these days in person. We've done zip lining in Belize. That's probably I think that's the furthest that we've gotten south. But that was great, except for the mosquitoes. And I was told there were insects that were roughly the size of bread loaves. All right, so we have officially completed the Lee After Dark challenge. Isn't that great? Okay. So how do you feel?
I feel great.
Awesome. Okay. Well, hey, you've earned up to 5 minutes to pitch your full head off, as we say. So tell us about what you do and what you've got for us today.
Sure. Well, I'm child-free, which means I have decided voluntarily to not ever have children of my own. It doesn't mean I hate children, by the way. I love children. I just don't want to become a mother.
Sure.
And I'm a life coach, and I have this business called the Uprising Spark, which is a digital platform. It's a project that I used to help child-free women like myself define and reach their life goals, as well as strengthen their self-love and self-esteem on the way. What else? I have a podcast called The Honest Uproar, in which we discuss subjects that are relevant to the child-free community. And I'm also part of a collaboration project. It's a video log on YouTube called Child Free Girls, with other 2 child-free women who are amazing. And they also have their own businesses on the side, also geared towards child-free women. And we have this sort of type of roundtable discussion in which we talk about several subjects also related to child-freeness. The last guest we had on our show is someone who is an antinatalist and an ethicist. So it's very interesting to talk to them. And, it was very interesting to talk to her specifically and ask her all these questions. So I highly recommend you check us out.
Awesome.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else you want to let our audience know, or final words?
Just if something terrifies you and excites you at the same time, just go for it.
Awesome. You've lived that example. So, I love that you're not just telling people to do this, but you're actually out there doing it. And that makes a huge difference. And that's one of the reasons I was so excited to have you on the show. So definitely make sure you check out Isabel Firecracker. I love that. And we'll put all the links in the show notes and everything for you too, and I'll verify those with you before that goes live. So we are out of time then, and if you found Lee After Dark more entertaining and relevant than most of the Drac out there, give our hosts over at ipmnation.com some love, or subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, iTunes, and wherever the heck else we decide to put this show. This is Lee Rowley with my new friend Isabel. Until next time, be present and be well.